Welcome in to the Scoop, the number one UNC football recruiting podcast, presented to you by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. All right, welcome to the Scoop. Appreciate you all listening. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Don Callahan. This is the Scoop, UNC's the number one UNC football recruiting podcast, brought to you here by Johnny T-Shirt on Wednesday morning, early 8:45. Don, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. We got some actual football practices coming up. I know that you have UNC later this week, and I have some official high school practices next week. I've been to a couple of the unofficial quote unquote workouts, but this could be actual football practices next week for me.
Yeah, UNC's training camp kicks off Friday. You should be listening to this, either Thursday or Friday this weekend. So hopefully you're checking out some of the intel we're going to give you here. And like Don said, high school football is also starting. UNC plays week 0 this year. So they play, I think the first game is, I want to say August 27th against Florida A&M. Let me check that date. Just don't want to be wrong. Yep, Saturday, August 27th. So they have to move training camp up a week because they're playing a week. And they play week 1 on Labor Day weekend against App State. So it's football time. And so as that happens, more of our content, more of our scoop will be some team stuff at the end, and we're definitely going to get into some team stuff coming off ACC Media Day and heading into training camp here where we're going to get access to more players and coaches. Sound good, Don?
Sounds fabulous.
Okay, and additionally on the schedule today, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the general stats of UNC recruiting right now, heading out of July into August. A couple recruits that Don profiled on his weekly scoop for premium subscribers. And then we'll get into some training camp talk. We're going to talk about quarterbacks, the quarterback competition, running backs, and wide receivers. Kind of a quick and dirty show. And we're going to talk about Rico Walker, who committed to UNC last week, who we haven't got a chance to talk to on this podcast. Anything to add, Don?
No, just ready to get going.
Okay. Guys, remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Inside Carolina Podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and hit the like or subscribe button on YouTube as all of our shows go on there. All right, Don, let's start with Rico Walker. The edge rusher out of Hickory, committed to UNC, became the 15th commit for the Tar Heels in the 2023 class. Rico Walker, let's see here. I'll pull him up. 6'3", 233 edge rusher out of Hickory High School, 201 in the nation, number 25th ranked edge rusher, number 7 player in North Carolina. Now, this is a guy that, of all the players on UNC's commitment class outside of the quarterback, this is the name I recognize the most. Maybe that's because his name's kind of a cool name, Rico Walker, but he's been visiting UNC for a long, long time. He's a big-time prospect. But there was just, here and there rumors of him checking out SEC schools. It was never a sure thing for UNC. What happened for him to pick the Tar Heels?
So, as you mentioned, he took a ton of visits to North Carolina. And I think he probably still doesn't realize it, but all those visits just made him so familiar with the surroundings there, so comfortable with the coaching staff there, that ultimately North Carolina was where he felt best at. He made a ton of visits to Tennessee also, and Tennessee was probably UNC's greatest threat. Them and Maryland came on strong towards the end there, but ultimately it came down to just the comfort level, and he felt most comfortable at North Carolina. So he took the only 2 official visits he took were to North Carolina and Maryland, and those were the final 2 weekends of June.
And he's the second highest ranked player in UNC's class. Is he like a big time, he's a 24/7 sports 4-star guy, but is he a big time kind of impact player? Like what level of recruit is UNC really getting Rico? Is this a big win for the Tar Heels, or kind of a guy that you think they should have gotten and have gotten?
Yeah, no, this is a big win for North Carolina. This is a kid with a ton of talent. He's one of those guys, I think, and the rankings reflect this because I've talked to the rankings committee about him, is that from a pure talent standpoint, he's probably should be ranked a little bit higher. Okay. They're worried about some things as far as like where his mind is at with certain things. For example, just the position stuff for a while there. He's kind of battled the I want to be a tight end thing, and everyone who's listening, well, not everyone, but a lot of people who are listening to this are probably saying, well, once he gets there, the coaches will talk him into. Now, there have been situations where a kid is dead set on a position, they go to a school and they waste a bunch of years at that position when they could be, developing at the position that they fit best at. But he's coming around to the idea that he is a edge rusher. I actually talked to his coach about it after the announcement. I guess Rico, the week prior to the announcement, called his coach and said, "Hey, coach, am I a defensive player or am I a tight end?" And the coach said, "Rico, for us, you're both, but in college, you're an edge rusher."
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's starting to slowly kind of come around to that idea, which, so once he has all the tools to become an elite edge rusher. It's just a matter of him kind of putting it together and developing into that elite edge rusher, because the development, he's a high school kid, so he has a lot of development to do.
Yeah, and it's funny. UNC has 3 edges committed, and they're all kind of the same build. 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" for Tyler Thompson. They're all in state, and UNC's 2 highest ranked players are both edge rushers. Jabron Harvey, out of Durham, 6'3", 215, is UNC's highest ranked player at 166. Rico Walker slots in at 201. So they're loading up on that jack position, and maybe some of those guys could grow into a kind of that power end, that the defensive end, Des Evans position. So it'll be interesting to see there. But there's gonna be a lot of edges on this roster, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of breaks down in a couple of years. Who adds weight, who cuts weight, etc. Don, you were there. You know this guy. You talked to him. What's kind of Rico Walker like as a person in terms of personality?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great kid. I've been covering him. I think one of the reasons why you probably are most familiar with his name, in addition to the fact that his name is Rico, is the fact that he's been kind of on the recruiting radar since, I guess, his freshman sophomore season. So I've known him since then. And I can actually remember the first time I saw him. It was at the 7-on-7, was like no talent there but him. And I can remember him just in the middle of the field standing out, completely just looked out of place with his size and his physique and all that. But anyway, great kid, good personality. He had a cool little, I don't know if it was a switcheroo like Christian Hamilton did.
Yeah.
But he did, picked up the Maryland hat, put it down. He picked up the Tennessee hat, actually had that on, turned around, and I guess he unzippered his shirt and then took the Tennessee hat off and showed the UNC shirt. I don't know, and a lot of people pointed this out in the video, because we did post a video. If you haven't seen it, it's a cool video. But the girl who was sitting next to him, I don't know if it was sister, cousin, girlfriend, or what, but it kind of seemed like she didn't know the selection, but she definitely wanted North Carolina. So it was kind of funny, because I don't think people realize, like, with the mic that's there, that picks up that table really, really well. And so we were able to catch her reaction and the things she was saying pretty well. So that was kind of fascinating for me, at least.
Yeah, it was funny because he was using the Inside Carolina mic as his mic, and he thought it was for the gymnasium or wherever y'all were, and it was just to our feed.
Yes. And I try to explain that, but I don't think that ever registered to anyone.
I was watching that feed with the great Ben Sherman.
Oh, were you? Where were you guys at?
It was right after the basketball media day, so we were in the office. No,
gotcha.
we were at his house just watching it together
on his big screen TV.
Yeah. That's how we do it. I just go over to Ben's house and hang out and watch TV and watch live streams. No, we were in the office. It was the same day as basketball media. I think it was last Monday.
How was the stream? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I mean, the audio was great. The audio was great.
Yeah. So because the mic makes a huge difference. But one of the issues, we don't broadcast the whole, just kind of inside, I guess, baseball here for the listeners. But we don't ever advertise the streaming, because we never know what the internet situation is going to be like. And in that situation, we had internet. The internet was fast, but they actually had streaming blocked on their router or whatever, modem or whatever it may be. So I had to use my phone's Wi-Fi, which can be kind of hit or miss. And this time it was hit. So
does your wife block your streaming too?
Not my streaming.
All right. Good little wife joke there. All right. Good stuff. All right. Rico Walker. I mean, it's a big commitment. I mean, he was a guy that I think UNC really wanted. Number 7 in the state. UNC's loading up on in-state prospects. As much as like they said it was a down year in the state. Jay Brown Harvey, Rico Walker, Christian Hamilton, Chris Culver, Tad Hudson, Tyler Thompson. Hang on, let me finish. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so
I think everything is relative, and a lot of comparisons being made from that to that 2021 class, which was historically the best class in state.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also Mac Brown has done a really good job of a high hit rate in state. So I mean, if you take away North Carolina's commits and what's left over, there's not a lot of great guys. So it's a great that's point. The thing too.
All right, cool. Rico Walker. And let's quickly talk about Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com early in the show here. Get the advertisements in here for your ears, guys. It's football season, and that means jerseys, T-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts. Head to Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com and get everything you need for your game day experience on Franklin Street, right off campus. Johnny T-shirt, and then online at JohnnyT-shirt.com. And remember, all Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off with the discount code found on the Tar Pit and UNC basketball premium message boards. So get your order, get that code, plug it in, and watch the dollars fall off your order with that 10% off code. Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. If you're going to shop for clothes for UNC apparel, which we know you are, you need that new sweatshirt, that new jersey, that new T-shirt, the new hat for your dad, for your father-in-law, brother, sister. Go to Johnny T-shirt and get that gear. Help us out. Help a local alumni-owned company in Chapel Hill. Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. It's that time of year to get your gear. It's always just get a surprise gift for a friend. It's always nice to just send somebody something for no particular reason. Yeah.
Send me a gift.
Yeah. Okay. Potentially. I'll fart into a plastic bag and mail it to you. Yeah. Like my buddy sent me some condiments today.
He sent you what?
Some condiments.
Condiments. Okay. I thought you said something else.
Yeah, I'll pull it right here. Yeah, I know what you heard. My friend sent me a surprise gift here. Some Chipotle mayo. Some fancy classic ketchup.
Okay.
Some
why are they sending you ketchup?
Garlic express. It's like fancy stuff. Like I'm a big condiment guy, and we talk about condiments. Garlic expressions and chili crunch, Asian chili crunch. So surprise gifts are great. Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. Let's let the national guys have some ads here. We'll be right back and talk about UNC's targets that are still out there making decisions soon. We'll get into some football scoop as well. And we're back. Welcome back to the Scoop, presented to you by Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. Hope you enjoyed that break. Welcome back into the fold. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Don Callahan. Guys, we're days away from the season, and we'll get a little recap on what's going on with recruiting. Don, as we sit here right now, July 27th, what's going on with UNC football recruiting in terms of the calendar, in terms of visits, in terms of kind of how UNC, the staff, is approaching the class right now?
So we're basically in the middle of the summer dead period, but we do get a little bit of a break from that dead period. This week only began Monday and will end Sunday, which is allowing some visits. And so a lot of schools are taking advantage of that by having these cookouts. Some schools have pool parties, those sort of things. North Carolina, because they actually begin practice earlier than everyone else. I think you mentioned this earlier. At least you mentioned it. At least I don't know if you mentioned it on the podcast, or was that off air?
Yeah.
Okay.
That week 0 against Florida A&M moves up the whole preseason camp calendar.
So you might look at this as a negative, but it's actually they're using it as a positive. They get an opportunity to showcase the team, showcase practices and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So their first practice is Friday, second practice is Saturday, which is open to the media, and they're having recruits at those events, and they view that as a better opportunity than having some sort of pool party or barbecue or whatever it may be. So some more visits, not a ton of visits. There's a lot of kids I talk to who are like, hey, I love to make some visits, but my high school practices already began, because like Georgia, they already started. so they have obligations and things. But that's where we're at now. And really, I guess from a non-NCAA recruiting calendar standpoint, we've talked about this before, where June and May, a lot of official visits, guys getting basically all their official visits done. And so July and August have become the time where they're making announcements. So we had a bunch of announcements early in July, and now they're kind of trickling out. And I know we'll get to a couple guys, but Braden Marshall, a cornerback from Florida, he's announcing on Saturday. Marquis Anderson, a offensive lineman from South Carolina, he's announcing on Sunday. And there's a bunch of other, announcements. I think basically the Weekly Scoop actually has this all broken down for you, but I think all but 2 or 3 of UNC's remaining targets have an announcement date set at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, where could people find the information about each of those players?
Weekly Scoop.
There you go.
Weekly Scoop is the best thing. If you are only going to read one recruiting article a week, because I understand people have things going on, Weekly Scoop is it. I try to pack everything in there. I mean, obviously we have other content throughout the week that if you have time for, definitely read those things. But the Weekly Scoop, we try to pack as much in there as possible.
There you go. Okay. So, and we talked about this a little bit off the air. So UNC's trying to they're going to see what happens with these announcements, but then it's a little bit of a reset, right? They're going to look at their board, see who they need to offer. Is that right? So they expand their board based on the decisions being made.
Yeah. So this
July and August.
Yeah, this is a position by position situation. And so obviously they have a target number. Those target numbers are kind of soft. But for the most part, they have a target number. And if they don't hit that target number by the end of August, then yes, depending on the position, you could see North Carolina kind of expand the board. The way that the staff has looked at it, yes, they have a list of guys that they really like, plan Bs, plan Cs, whatever it may be. But you're at the point now to where you're going to get a bunch of new information on these guys. And what I mean by that is the high school football season starting. And so, those first 3 games of film is going to be invaluable when it comes to evaluation, because obviously that's the most, it's way better information than the film you have from their junior season. Yep. You can see how they developed this offseason. So you might as well not rush it. You might as well kind of see what happens with these guys this summer, and then just evaluate the targets you have, see if maybe additional guys pop up, because one of the main positions that probably UNC is going to expand is the offensive line board. There's a lot of kids who develop a lot mature physically over an off season, and you'll be able to take advantage of that, whereas a lot of the other schools are full at the position.
Yeah, you can find some gyms, some guys that break out in the summer, guys that have put things together and have a better senior season, and then you're getting a player that you have a more realistic view of who they're going to be in college, especially true for offensive line. Someone once told me, a friend of both of ours told me, the offensive line is the hardest to predict, it's the hardest to recruit, and it's at times a crapshoot if that player that you see in high school is going to develop into what you need in college. And that man, Christopher Kapilovic, Coach Cap. Okay, let's go through these players. We're going to talk about 3 here. You get the rest on the Weekly Scoop. Quickly, Don, let's just go through each one, and I want you to kind of just tell me what's going on and where UNC stands with them and what you think is going to happen, okay?
All
right. Braden Marshall, cornerback out of Lake Mary High School in Florida, 5'10", 170, a pretty low 4-star, ranked 401 in the nation. When did he visit, and what's the deal with him, Don?
He took basically an unofficial visit that was an official visit long, a weekend visit back in, I think it was May, maybe April. And then he officially visited North Carolina during that final weekend of June. He also took official visits to Pitt, UCF, and Wisconsin. I think it was over the weekend. He came out with a very curious top 3.
Okay.
Which consisted of Nebraska, which he did not officially visit, UNC, and Wisconsin. For those who've been following this, the most notable absentee was UCF, the local school, which I've been told by multiple sources is the biggest threat in this recruitment. So,
but he didn't list them in his top 3.
He did not. And some people are wondering if maybe this is an attempt to kind of throw a little bit of a curveball, because there was just couple weeks ago, a kid from, I can't remember where he was from, a running back, 4-star running back, had a Final Four 3 days before his announcement, and he ended up choosing a school not in that 4, ended up being South Carolina. So this is, kids are doing different things to try to throw you off. They're trying to combat, crystal balls and all that sort of stuff.
So this guy could be already silently committed to UCF.
He could be.
And just list that to kind of F with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, dude, how crazy is this job?
Or he could just, it could be, me and my sources are just looking too much into this, and it's just North Carolina. And maybe he just wanted to focus in on, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, UCF's, I guess, technically not a Power 5 school right now. So Nebraska, Wisconsin, and UNC, Power 5 schools.
Can you imagine going to Wisconsin or Nebraska from Lake Mary, Florida? I mean, I know it happens. I know you have a lot of those Florida kids that go up there, but damn. When you're growing up, Don, did you ever dream of like, man, when I want to grow up, I want to work in a field where I have to decipher the social media posts of 16, 17, 18-year-old boys?
No, I never.
And now that's what you do. All right. All due respect. All right.
Recruiting wasn't that big of a deal when I was a kid.
I know. And social media didn't exist.
That's right. Neither did electricity.
Yeah, that's right. You had to send messages through little stone tablets. All right, moving on. All right, Marquis Anderson, offensive tackle, offensive lineman from Dorman High School in Roebuck, South Carolina, 6'4.5", 305, very high ranked, 24/7 Sports 4-star, 136, which I think would make him one of the top players in UNC's class if he were to commit. Don, this has been a South Carolina kind of deal the whole time. He's making an announcement soon. What's going on with Marquis Anderson?
Yeah, so he's going to make one on Sunday.
Okay.
So we got back-to-back decisions this weekend. He took official visits to Clemson, LSU, North Carolina, South Carolina. The one interesting thing about this is that his dad videoed a lot of these official visits on his phone. So if you want to kind of get an idea of what an official visit is like at all these different places, you can go on their YouTube page and watch it for free. They're lengthy. I think the North Carolina one is like an hour and a half. So there's very little
you're like watching it in bed, and it's like 10:30, 11. You're watching it in bed, and your wife's like, "Get to bed, Don. Come to bed." And you're like, "I'm watching this kid's official visit. I'm on minute 56."
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I mean, the crystal ball is 100% South Carolina. A lot of people have assumed South Carolina for the longest time. I don't know if this is an attempt to create some drama, but there is some curiosity coming out of South Carolina a little bit that maybe it's not South Carolina. But yeah, I mean,
his teammate is DJ Geth, right?
TJ Geth, and he's committed to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they took the North Carolina and South Carolina official visits together. Now Marquis took the LSU and Clemson ones by himself. But so yeah, I mean, maybe it's just completely comes out of left field and ends up being like an LSU thing.
Yeah.
You know, you never know in this day and age with NIL stuff. So
all right, Marquis Anderson, good stuff there from Don on him. So that'll be a Sunday announcement. All right, and last one we're going to profile today. Of course, go on to InsideCarolina.com, click on Don's Weekly Scoops. He profiled about maybe 6 or 7 to 8.
Almost all of them. I mean, there's
the ones that are important of UNC interest that are announcing soon, I guess is kind of how to phrase it.
Well, it's just, I mean, North Carolina only has a few legit targets left at the moment.
Okay.
And so, I mean, some of them there's just not anything going on with, but the ones that there is some sort of developments, we profiled those situations.
The exact wording was from Don, up until 48 hours ago, I fully intended on delivering there won't be a weekly scoop post this morning, but slowly I received enough morsels of intel to whip up a small dish of scoops. I am Don Callahan for Inside Carolina. All right, Shelton Anderson, cornerback, 5'11", 180 from Stockbridge High School in Stockbridge, Georgia. 24/7 Sports Composite 3-star, ranked 987 in the nation, and the 95th ranked cornerback, 95th ranked player in Georgia. Don, kind of interesting here. Decommitment from Pitt. Of course, got more interest when that happened, and then something happened recently that changes recruitment.
Yeah, so he made kind of I don't know how to label it. I guess a secret visit to Clemson for their all-in cookout.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of 2 uncommitted players there, and he was the only player there without a Clemson offer. But that didn't last very long. Before he left, Clemson had offered him, and apparently it's a school that he's had very high interest in. So yeah, I mean, this is a guy who, from what I have gathered, was very high on UNC's board. I know I think at one point, the rankings go up and down, but at one point when I was kind of messing with the commitment calculator, he was the lowest ranked commit North Carolina would have had.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, North Carolina, he's one of the top DBs on their board. Pitt, with Narduzzi, is known for finding good defensive backs going way back to his days at Michigan State. Clemson has done a great job of finding defensive backs. So I think this is a good player despite his ranking.
Yeah.
And as far as like what could happen, so he has an announcement right after he got that offer. He set August 8th as his announcement date. And I think it's a situation that looked really good for North Carolina at one point. Now it doesn't look so great.
Yeah. Get that Clemson offer, and all of a sudden you set a decision date, announcement date. The writing is on the wall, so to speak. All right, we good?
Yeah. I think just kind of, I guess, continue to hammer at home. I had one source tell me that this might be a Trenton Simpson situation.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I thought about too when I kind of read about his situation. That's how it happens. Hey, what about Jamal Jarrett, our guy Jamal Jarrett? How about that? We didn't talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about him. He picked Georgia.
You were there, right?
I was there, yeah. And that was mostly because, I mean, he appeared on a podcast, and so
we got a little flack for that.
Did we?
I did from a couple buddies.
Really? What did they say?
Like, why'd you have Jamal Jarrett on your show if you knew he was picking Georgia, or if you thought he was gonna pick Georgia? I know, we didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like you shouldn't be promoting someone else's, another school's commitment. I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, well, we don't. Yeah, we didn't know.
We're not in the promotion business of players, and we don't. I mean, ultimately, we don't care where they go because we wish them the best. But
yes,
if we're gonna get a 24/7 Sports highly recruited 4-star on our show, we're gonna get them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it obviously didn't age well, but for a week, it was a great podcast that a lot of people listened to and drew up some conversation.
Should we put that on should that be our kind of our advertisement for our show?
Well,
it didn't age well, but for a week, it was a pretty good podcast.
It was funny. A lot of people before he announced was like, well, why would he come on the podcast if he wasn't going to pick North Carolina? But yeah, I mean, I went because just kind of out of support for Jamal, I mean, he literally asked me, this was a couple weeks ago. He said, well, if I don't pick North Carolina, are you going to still come to an announcement? So I told him I would. I mean, it's an hour away for me. And then also, he has, a ton of teammates that are really good players, like Alex Taylor, a 2024 wide receiver. We ran a story on him earlier in the week. He's going to be one of the top guys in state for that class. So I was able to talk to him. Terrell Anderson, the other wide receiver, is really good. And then, I mean, they have like an edge rusher who's like a 2025 who's going to be a top recruit. I mean, they have I don't know what's going on over there at Grimsley. Maybe Ross can tell me.
But the water, baby. We breed superior athletes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that football program has really turned around. I don't know.
Yeah. Under Coach Brown did a really good job.
It's just a culture thing, or, you start getting the culture going, and then you have your middle school producing players, and then you get some transfers here and there as long as it's legal, and then you start winning and people want to play for you. All right. That's Grimsley High School talk. All right. Good stuff there. Yeah. Jamal Jarrett, it would have been a good addition to this class. Who does UNC turn to now if that big three
Well,
technique.
I mean, they have 4 D linemen committed, and
some of those are edges, right?
Yeah, but you have Starlings who Joel Starlings, who is a 4-star defensive tackle. So you do have a similar guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's still some other guys on that board. I mean, a lot of this is kind of broken down in the weekly scoop this week, so definitely check that out. But I mean, UNC should hit their number. They're very close to hitting their number for the defensive line group, and they kind of knew that there was a really good chance that Jamal went another direction. Now, if you read my mock classes, I just kind of thought that eventually the hometown, proximity thing would play out in UNC's favor, and I was wrong with that. But it is what it is.
I always love having a couple big, long defensive linemen in each class, at least 2 or 3. All right, let's move on. Team scoop. Don, we said we're talking about quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers.
Yeah.
Let's just go through that. Kind of a little preview here for the training camp starting on Friday. I was on the Beat podcast last night with Greg Barnes.
So how'd you get back on there?
Just got the text, man. I got called up for the minors.
Wow.
Called up from AAA up to the big leagues. And so I joined those guys last night on the Beat. It was kind of fun discussion, and we went deep into expectations, into rankings, into preseason polls, into Mac Brown and last season, this season, and kind of the hype, the overrated, underrated type thing. Did you hear Mac say that they were criminally overrated last year?
Yeah.
And criminally underrated this year? Like, what a line. And then we went to we broke down pretty much every position group, offense and defense, kind of going back and forth with Greg, kind of sharing some intel. So definitely check out On the Beat. It's live on Tuesday nights, but it's also available obviously on the podcast feed and the YouTube feed. And it was fun to join those guys and share what intel I've gathered, man. It's scoop season, so
we got to get some live podcasts.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people will be watching at 8:30 a.m.
Well, I mean, we'd at least get one.
Yeah, your mom. We should do a live show at night sometimes. I mean, we got John. John's gonna be running that stuff now, so we could do that.
Okay.
Let us know if you want. Hey guys, let us know if you want a live show. All right, let's go into it. Don, quarterback competition. We got Drake May, got Jacoby Criswell, got Connor Harrell, the freshman, Jefferson Boaz. I mean, what questions do you have for me?
So I think a lot of the assumption is that it's just going to be Drake May. I've seen Jacoby actually a lot during recruiting camps. He's kind of come out and helped, and of course, you see him throw a bunch, and he's looked really good. But so tell me, I mean, is it? Well, I guess are they going to try to play multiple quarterbacks, or
I mean,
is it good? Go ahead.
Couple ways to look at this. So last night, Greg and Tommy and John both said they think Criswell will be the guy who takes the first snap against Florida A&M. Mm-hmm. Now that may be like kind of a courtesy thing and kind of give the veteran, the older guy, the first shot at it. So I don't think people think it's Drake May. I don't think it's a runaway for him. I think it's going to be legit competition into preseason camp, and I think it may last into preseason camp and out into the first couple games. I don't know. This is not source. This is what I think maybe they should do is if it's very close, throw them out both against A&M, maybe throw them out both against App State in Boone and make that the test. And then you have another game against Georgia State in Atlanta and then pick your starter coming out of that game. So it gives them 3 games of in the fire, especially against App, which would be a tough game. And then pick your starter the week heading into Notre Dame at home, which is the 4th game. That would, because I think you really don't know what you have until they're taking live bullets against at least teams that can. I mean, obviously these aren't Power 5 teams, but I mean, App State's going to be a pretty tough game, a tough culture. But you probably heard what I've heard. Criswell's got the arm. They love his arm. He's got a strong arm. Drake may add some things in terms of his pocket presence. You always loved his accuracy, which I've written about. And they love Connor Harrell, man. He's the true freshman. They really like what he did. They really love how smart he is, how he grasped the offense. He's all of that valedictorian, which he was in high school. So don't sleep on Connor Harrell. Do I think he's going to be the starter this year? No, but he may be the quarterback of the future down the line. So they have 3 really good players they like. It'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of who they want someone to separate. I mean, that's always what they want. They don't want 2 quarterbacks. They want one to separate. It's just tough, man. It's tough to because if you don't play one, what could happen, Don?
It could transfer, which is actually, so I have two questions. You kind of sort of answer both of them, but so you don't think there's any chance that Connor just kind of steals it, comes out of nowhere and steals it?
It's so hard to think of a freshman doing that, but it's not crazy. I mean, Sam
The
Howell did
thing,
that.
yeah, I don't think it will happen, but I think you are talking about a kid who has played the highest level in Alabama
And was very good.
and was very good. And he had more 5-stars on his team that year than he does now. And they played against a lot of really good teams. But the second question is, and you kind of sort of touched on this, do you think that there's any sort of catering to the idea that you kind of almost have to make it seem like a competition so that one doesn't transfer? Or do you think this is truly like they don't know who is the guy?
Great question. And it's a great point. Because they don't want Drake or Jacoby to transfer because they need that backup.
Yes.
And it's just this day and age, it's just so weird. Like, I feel like this wasn't a thing 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Where because obviously you have to sit out if you transfer. So it was a punishment for transferring. So you didn't see the amount of volatility in the transfer market. Now, that could easily happen. And so, yeah, I think that has to play a little bit of a role of trying to keep one around. But I don't know. It seems like they are fairly equal. And they want to see the competition play out. They're all, obviously, every coaching staff's all about competition. Iron sharpens iron, and they will figure it out, not the coaching staff. So, but I think in the back of their mind, it's the one position on the football field where it's just one guy, So you have to kind of, there is some politics, I think, in play, especially with Drake May as the legacy, as the Charlotte guy, but you have an older guy, Criswell, who they do like as well.
Yeah.
Okay. We can dive more into that. We have a couple more scoops before the first game.
Yeah.
All right. Running backs, Don. So let me ask you.
Sure.
You cover the recruitment of all these guys. They have 6 scholarship running backs right now.
Yeah.
British Brooks, who you might not have covered as much as a recruit because he's a walk-on. Elijah Green, a former what?
Former podcast guest.
Scoop podcast guest. DJ Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Hood, who I saw at Walmart a couple weeks ago.
What was he buying?
It was like 1 or 2 things. It wasn't a lot. Actually, no.
I lived in Chapel Hill for 2 years, and it would be funny how many players, basketball and football, I would see at the food line that was closest to campus. But anyway,
do you live in Carborough?
No, I lived in Chapel Hill, but it was closer to Durham.
Got it. Okay, and then they have the 2 freshmen, Amarion Hampton, who enrolled in June, and George Pettaway, who enrolled in January. When you look at those guys' recruitments, who's the most talented guy? Who's the NFL prospect? Who's the breakout guy? The guys.
I mean, it's kind of it's tough between. I guess I would have to. Man, it is so tough between George Pettaway and Amarion Hampton, and those are the younger guys.
That's the point. Yeah.
And it's different because Pettaway is, the all-purpose back, the guy who can play some receiver sort of thing. And Hampton is, the power back, which NFL teams love. Both of them are like guys who just breathe it, especially Pettaway. I was talking Pettaway, I can't remember when it was, and he just loves it because he's one of those guys that wakes up in the morning and wants to just do some sort of workout, whether it's actual running back drills or lifting or whatever it is. And Hampton, who's he's much more quieter, doesn't talk a whole lot, but you kind of, through the years, I picked up that he's another guy that just loves to just work out and get better. And his track numbers from this past season were just absolutely ridiculous.
He's massive, dude. The photo I saw of him coming off the track season, unbelievable. So the question is, British Brooks showed what he could do against NC State. He was really good, but I always wonder, why was he not playing more initially? Like, if he's that good, if he's your starter, why was he not splitting reps with Ty Chandler last year? Was Ty Chandler that much better? So I'm always curious as to, the player's good. If he's your guy, why was he not playing a lot? It's not like he got some really, really good, really, really fast. So I'm interested to see how much British Brooks is a starter. And then it'll be interesting to see. They like Elijah Green. He said he's improved a lot. He's very, very fast. We've kind of seen DJ Jones a little bit, but he's been hampered by injuries. And then Caleb Hood's was the hype guy last year. Greg Barnes talked about that yesterday. How much will Hampton and Petaway play as a freshman? And will one of them become one of the top 3 backs? And I think running back is the easiest position to play as a freshman.
Yes, I 100% agree. We've seen it on every team. I mean, I think if we were to rank the positions by the likelihood,
ease of playing
from high school to college, running back probably would think would be number 1. But yeah, no, I'm very curious to see how this kind of just works itself out because of, I mean, so from what you've gathered, because last year it felt like more of like a 2 running back thing.
Well, it was really Ty Chandler and Sam Howell. If you look at the there wasn't anybody else.
That's true. That's true.
Hood got injured pretty early in the season.
Yeah. All right. So basically kind of a 1. 2 years ago, it was 2 running backs. 3 years ago, it was 3.
Yep.
And I think the year before that, it was 3, I think also. So what route do you think they take as far as how many do you think this, because there's so many, there has to be 3?
Yeah, I think I could see 3 and then it maybe becoming 2, like in October, November. You start off with Bridge Brooks, maybe Elijah Green, and then I don't know, maybe Hood or Petaway, because Petaway is so unique. I think Petaway is the one that stands out. He's so shifty and so versatile in the passing game and so explosive. So he's the guy that can really make a difference. So I think you're going to see maybe a lot of him more than maybe some expect. With it, because Hood, Hampton, Brooks, I think have similar running styles as the bruiser, short yardage. So I think it's 3. It'd be interesting to see who though, because we just kind of forget about Elijah Green and DJ Jones.
Yeah, and I think DJ Jones has a ton of talent, and I think Caleb Hood. I hate that I didn't mention him, but it's just so hard with Hampton and Petaway. But
Hood's been injured too, but he's healthy now.
And Hood's another one who, his dad played at UNC. His dad, trains kids, so obviously he trained both Caleb and his younger brother, and his younger brother's actually coming in as a wide receiver, as a walk on. But yeah,
yeah. So it'd be interesting. That's I think that's one of the more intriguing and more competitive position groups entering.
Yeah, camp. And if I could, just to make the recruiting connection, is that UNC, as of right now, and things can change, is not taking a running back in this class just because this group is so deep, so talented, so young, which kind of speaks to what we're talking about.
Because you're going to have Brooks will graduate, but you still got Green, Jones, at least for a year or 2 more. The COVID year complicates everything. Caleb Hood, and then you have the 2 freshmen. All right, awesome. Wide receivers. I think this is another interesting one. It kind of starts with Josh Downs and Antoine Green, who I've heard through talking to sources had a great offseason, coming off a pretty good year in 21, but is confident, is fast, is physical. And finally, I think he's a senior, if he maybe a 5th-year senior, Antoine Green. So those are the 2 top guys, and then kind of who is that 3rd and 4th receiver is what's going to be intriguing. You got JJ Jones, you've got Kobe Paysauer, who they really like. Kobe Paysauer is going to step in, play a little slot this year. Of course, if you listen to On the Beat, a lot of the stuff I'm saying I repeated last night. But and then I think Andre Green has a chance to be a phenomenal, incredible college player, whether that's week 1 or week 5 or 6, we'll see. But I think Andre Green has a chance to be the 4th guy. Phil Longo does not play that many receivers. It's really they play 4, maybe 5 guys.
Well, also JJ Jones is named that last year towards the latter half of the season start to really kind of pile up the snaps.
Exactly. After
he looked really good when I saw him at a camp, and he looked really good.
Yeah, and that's kind of after they had some transfers mid-season. Coffrey Brown transferred, Emery Simmons transferred. Yeah. So, and you got Gavin Blackwell in there as well. So, and Justin Olson. So there's names there, but I really think they need someone to step into that 3 and 4 receiver role. And I think Josh Downs is going to have a huge year. They're going to try to get him the ball in so many different ways. Did you think he'd be this good when you followed his recruitment?
Josh Downs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was just probably the most polished kid, most polished wide receiver that I've seen at the high school level. I mean, it makes sense. Dad's a college coach, trained it, played the best, one of the best 7-on-7 teams in the nation, went to every single camp that he could just to get the reps in, never shied away from any sort of competition, always looked at it as an opportunity to get better, great route runner. I mean, fast. I mean, yes. When I'm looking at this, I mean, obviously, it's almost like you have the wide receiver conversation and then you just kind of just put Josh down to the side because we know what that is. You know what I mean? The rest, I'm just kind of wondering, even with Antoine Green. So I did look, he's a 5th-year senior. So this is his graduate year.
And he had that injury against Syracuse.
Yeah.
So that may have given him a red shirt, or that just one of the reasons why he's come back.
Yeah. Yeah. So beyond that, beyond Josh, I'm just kind of like, what's going to happen. I love the potential that Andre Green has, but as you said, I mean, everyone thinks that these guys are going to step in day one and play, and that just doesn't happen typically. Yeah. And so he's going to be a guy who I think will play. I think it'll be a very similar situation as JJ Jones last year. While he's probably, JJ Jones physically was probably better than Andre at the same time period, and also played. He played at Myrtle Beach High School, so he had a lot of reps and everything like that. So I mean, I'm just trying to compare the two, and I think that as far as like the likelihood for Andre to see the field, and I kind of just see it very similar, unless Andre just blows it out of the water. I mean, Andre didn't play against great competition. Mm-hmm. His dad is not going to like to hear that, but he didn't. So I think there's going to be an adjustment.
His dad, who is listening right now.
His dad's probably listening right now. So I haven't talked to him in a while. So Mr. Green, give me a call. The other thing too is that Andre didn't enroll early.
Yeah.
And so he's only been on campus for like a month or so, but I've seen him a bunch and he loves it there. Go ahead.
I just think physically, not in terms of body, but like athletically,
yes.
Like he has it all. And a wide receiver, I think being athletic is more important than being some strong, guy.
True. Very true. Yeah.
If you can run past the guy, jump over the guy, then
and he definitely can do that.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited about him. I've heard a lot of good things about him from a couple of different sources. Mm-hmm. And when you hear that from 2 or 3 people, then it's legit. So it will be interesting. And then there's a spot for him. I mean, there is a spot for him to step in if he can do it. So, but Kobe Paysauer is also the name I've heard a lot too.
Yeah. And he's looked good too. And I've seen him. So I mean, it's I think it's going to be interesting, the wide receivers, and I wonder if it might take a few weeks for it to settle down.
Yeah, your sourcing on all these conversations on the team is like, I saw the guy and he looks good. Yeah, I saw him and he looks good. All right, good stuff, Don. You ready? You good? Anything else?
I am good.
All right, a little quick and easy podcast there.
Quick and easy. How we like it.
Yeah, I think we'll get some guests on the next time. I put out some calls. So I think the next time we'll do more team stuff, definitely some recruiting stuff, but I think we're going to have a guest. I'm going to set up an interview for the next time we do the show, and that should be in 2 weeks. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Don. Appreciate it. Johnny T-shirt and johnnytshirt.com. Guys, remember to rate and review to the show. Season's coming. You're going to get alerts when we go live on The Beat, live on other shows, and, of course, you'll see all that content on your feed if you subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your Inside Callahan podcast stuff. For Don Callahan, I'm Ross Martin. Appreciate it. Have a great day.